Hi, guys. I want to talk about what is on all of our minds right now, which is the coronavirus. I want to talk a little bit about how it has shown up in my life recently, how it's affecting me, and what it looks like in my area. I am in Northern California. Also, how I'm dealing with that, and what that means for my traveling life in the near future. So, today is Friday the 13th, March 13th, and I am technically on spring break from my job right now. I am an educator, as I have stated on my page before, but I haven't talked about it too much. I felt that this was a good chance for me to not miss work and be able to visit San Diego, California, which is in Southern California. For those of you that have never visited California, it is a very far distance apart because California is a really long state. And I was preparing myself all morning for a 8 to 10 hour drive, depending on traffic, tomorrow to get from Northern California, where I live, to San Diego. So, as I was preparing for that, I started calling schools that I wanted to try to volunteer at or, get personal time, maybe interviewed by the principals at these specific schools that I had selected. And I kind of pumped myself up for those calls, just preparing to sound as eloquent as possible on these phone calls that I was just nervous about. And as soon as I did, I had 2 phone calls in a row that confirmed that every school that I was interested in seeing would be closed due to coronavirus fears, starting next week until at least mid-April, if not late April. So that is the first instance that the coronavirus has affected my personal life. And I have to say, I did not deal with the news well. I booked an Airbnb. Like I said, I was preparing for this long drive. And it was just kind of, shocking a little bit that it had arrived, that the effects of this had arrived here. Because, as I wanted to explain to you all, we don't have any school closures, not yet. We are, of course, preparing for that possibility, but there have not been as many cases or as widespread cases as other areas of the United States or in particular other parts of the world that we've heard of, especially Europe, and China, of course. So for me, I felt like, okay, last chance, I want to go to San Diego to see how I feel in the city, to check out schools, to check out apartment complexes. I'm hoping to move there in August for the new school year, like at the latest, and it feels like it's just going to come up so soon. It is far away, but time flies. So I was upset by having the realization that I would not only not be able to check out places that I would consider working for in the future, but also that I had this Airbnb booked. Thankfully, after just a minor freak out, I went on Airbnb's website, and they did have they do have a cancellation policy for any areas affected by COVID-19, which apparently it looks like all of the United States of America is covered under that Airbnb policy, just so that you guys know if you do have to change your travel plans. But I realized in speaking to a friend after this happened, just letting her know about my situation, that I was canceling my plans, how all of the emotion that came up was so reminiscent of the uncertainty that we felt as teachers in particular during the Northern California fires. So I know many people are informed about the fires that happened in particular 3 years ago, but every October since 2017. If you don't know, I live very close to Santa Rosa, California, which is where the largest wildfires in California happened that year in 2017. And it was really frightening, to be completely honest, going through that and feeling that change in our community. Just having people all of a sudden not be able to go to work for 3 weeks, not have that income, and struggle through that. As an educator, it was my first school year ever teaching. And I had to make phone calls to each of my students' families, and some of them didn't have the language to access the things that they needed, to know how to use our systems to be able to get food for their kids and to be able to make rent, to make ends meet. Like, it genuinely affects our communities so deeply. The things that, some of us take for granted. For me, being upset about a canceled spring break trip that was going to be, in a big part, business and setting myself up for the future, the next year of my life. Thankfully, as of right now, that is not such a serious, repercussion of this greater pandemic and, kind of sentiment of fear and uncertainty that everyone in our communities are feeling. I think it's something that's worldwide. People are concerned, and there's argument to what degree you should or shouldn't be worried and all this, but the point is that I think a lot of times emotion in uncertain circumstances can cause us to react in a way that isn't necessarily called for in the circumstance. The fires, that was terrifying in a real way. Right now, coronavirus is not highly present in my community. We are not a city that's on lockdown. Our schools have not shut down yet. I feel very grateful for that, but it's just a little bit, it makes me a little bit humble knowing that it has already affected my life, even in the smallest of ways, to really understand the sort of panic that people are going through in areas that are shut down and are quarantined, So it's just food for thought. Getting to the lighter part of this, which I think is what we all need right now. I really got to thinking after I made that call and, talked to Airbnb and kind of figured that out and got my full refund. Thank you, Airbnb. I started thinking about how all of these feelings, need to be dealt with and how I was going to do that. So personally, my mental health strategy is definitely, first and foremost, breathing, meditation, focusing on that gratitude, recognizing the reality of your circumstance. My circumstance in this case is very neutral. I am not sick. I don't know anyone that is sick with the coronavirus yet. That's great. Focusing on the reality of your individual circumstance and whatever chaos you feel is happening in your city or the world right now really helps to bring things into perspective. Also, choosing relaxing activities, self-care. It's a thing, right? But things that really bring you peace. So listening to an album that you love, maybe playing music, reading, listening to an audiobook if you just want to zen out. Adult coloring books, they're great. They're great. I love coloring. There's so much that you can do, to just separate yourself from the chaos a little bit. And make sure that you do that. Honestly, thinking about how the conversation here started through travel, I've been thinking a lot, in particular, how this is going to affect my traveling life. I know a lot of people that are traveling right now, that are on vacation, and it is spring break time, and people did have things that they paid for that are not going to be refunded, and I get it. I totally understand. I'm not saying I'm not going to do it at all and under any circumstances, because I do have the travel bug and it's hard to resist, But I think that something that really cemented the fact that although this was a less than ideal situation for me in terms of preparing for the next step in my life, that it is positive that I get to stay home and that I can stay home right now, because of a little tidbit of information that's been circulating that put into perspective the coronavirus, about the fact that if you are a young, healthy individual that feels that you're not going to personally be deeply affected to the point of perishing because of the coronavirus, that we also have that responsibility more than anything to our fellow citizenry, other humans, to not be out in public if we don't need to not be traveling or doing things that aren't necessary in order to not increase the risk of infection for others, So, with all that being said, I hope that everyone out there is making the most informed decision, the most calm decision, just, drawing that line between being informed and taking the emotion out of it as much as possible, not just panicking. It's not good for you. It's not good for anyone else, and traveling safely. If you are still choosing to travel, if you have to travel, do your research and just stay safe, stay clean, keep your area clean as much as possible, and wear those masks if you're feeling icky. It's important to keep people safe. So that's my tidbit on the coronavirus and how it has been affecting my life in the tiniest bit right now, and my thoughts on travel in my future. If you would like to share with me what the coronavirus has brought to your life, please put it in the comments. I'd love to have a conversation on my page about it. And stay healthy and well. Goodbye.